Good Monday morning of the 12th week. You could see right now it's 10:30, and I just came in from riding my bike. So if I look disheveled, that's the reason for it. And also putting up with Lily. She wants to play, and she's running around with a toy in her mouth. So anyway, if you hear some rumbling and noises around, it's Lil. She's teasing me. She wants me to play with her. She's got this little doll stuck in her. Well, it's on the bear rug, her favorite launching place. She lays on the rug, puts her head between the ears of the bear. You got to see it sometime. It's her world. She owns everything here. I just rent. Anyway. All right, today's reading is Matt. I think throughout the week, I looked a couple of days, and he's refining his reflections. St. Matthew is refining his reflections on the moral life, essentially. And with Matthew, who knew Jewish law, remember, he's a Jew, a Jewish Christian. It's how you interpret, how you think it, where you move, in a sense, from an ethic of obedience to an ethic of wisdom. And that's what you're getting out of Matthew. You get it completely in John. See? But this is, as you can see, it's early in the game, and they're reconceiving the moral order in the light of Christ. See? Remember, they were walking around with him, and he kept, as he interpreted the law. So now they are. I'll read it to you. Jesus said to us, of course they're putting it in the mouth of Jesus, the writers, okay? Jesus said to his disciples, "Stop judging, that you may not be judged. For as you judge, so will you be judged. And the measure with which you measure will be measured out to you." If that isn't wisdom, there is no such thing. He is so right. The older I get, the more I think of that one line, the measure with which you measure will be measured out to you. That's a de facto true statement. Because as you value, hence how you measure, will in turn be the measure by which you will be measured. You see? That's really true. And let me show it to you in two ways, okay? I'm in a mob mood. I don't know why, but whatever. Here's what I'm thinking. If you throw your weight around, that's a form of judgment. As you impose your will on someone else, as you throw your weight around, you bully someone, there's a good chance in time you will be bullied. You'll reach a point where you will have sufficiently made enemies, victims, that you finally victimize or you bully the wrong person at the wrong time, because these are habits. You're used to throwing your weight around. And then one day you throw your weight around, but you were throwing it at the wrong person at the wrong time. You're not talking about divine judgment here. You could, and of course our Lord has that in mind. But this is just straight street wisdom. Don't throw your weight around. Don't throw it around. Don't think you're so tough. I think those of us that grew up in the city, in city neighborhoods, this I can't say now. I mean, I haven't lived this way in 50 years, 60 years. But in a neighborhood, you tended to look out for each other. You didn't have to like each other, but you looked out for each other. And bullying was not allowed. You couldn't rough up somebody in your neighborhood. I forget one of the mob movies. It says you couldn't do harm. You can't do violence in the neighborhood. But violence in the neighborhood was untolerated. Was not tolerated. I don't know. I don't know if it was Mean Streets. I don't know what it was, what film it was. Sounds like a Scorsese film, but whatever. There's a lot of wisdom in the street, because it's telling you that, treat your neighbor neighborly. Don't throw your weight around. And the real wisdom is to extend that beyond the neighborhood. That's what Christ tells us. To protect the neighborhood is the old law. To see the entire family of humankind as the new neighborhood, that's Christianity. And that means we have to reach out to each other in friendship, in care and friendship, and not throw our weight around. Not bullying. not treating a potential friend, if not an actual friend, as an enemy. That's really true. If you treat everyone as a neighbor, a friend, a family member, but especially just that notion of being a neighbor. Grow up in the inner city and you'll understand that, like I did. You don't have to like each other. Christ never said, gee, you better like that guy. He didn't say that. He said, you got to be a good neighbor. You got to love him, which means act like a neighbor. Look out for him. You take care of him, take care of her, and she will, and he will take care of you. There's an awful lot of truth in that. When I was the chair of my department, this is street knowledge. This is just basic street survival knowledge. In other words, you could either act like a bully, and I've seen them do it. I've seen chairs do that. I've seen chairs throw their weight around. I've seen deans throw their weight around. They never lasted very long because they finally put their foot in the wrong bear trap, and wham, they got caught. See? And I always thought of leadership as a form of, well, I'm influenced by religious life, as a form of friendship. And I think of the superior in the community. It's not there to push you around, but to make life as rich as possible as he can for you. And I thought that way about my department. I have to say that, I'm not bragging, it's just it's the neighborhood in me coming through, and my religious vocation, that my task is not to tell you what to do, but to make it possible for you to flourish in what you do, even if I don't like you personally. And there are times guys get under your skin. Not everybody plays fair in the sandbox, but I can play fair in the sandbox. I can be a friend, even to somebody who acts like an enemy. I still can be a friend. See? In that way, I take, in a sense, the fangs out of his mouth. I defang him, as it were. I take that power away from him, not by force or violence, but by treating him fairly. It's hard to attack somebody who's looking out for your best interest and is helping you at every turn. It's hard. You may not like them personally, but you're going to think twice about attacking. Besides, you're creating a community, and communities look out for each other. That's how I see it. I don't think I could have lasted 28 years as chair at SLU, 9 years at Bellarmine, except for that mentality. That's a street mentality. I told you this 1,800 times. I'm tired if I repeat myself. One of the other chairs asked me where I got my wisdom from, because I ran arguably one of the toughest departments in the university world, namely philosophy. We are notoriously tough. And he said to me, how did you do it, Ted? And I said, well, I saw it as, where did you get the wisdom? That's all he put it. I said, from the kids of the old neighborhood. I treated it just like a neighborhood. I also said about another chair who really played rough in the neighborhood. He made life really rough for a lot of us. Took advantage of us. I said he would have had the hell kicked out of him. I said it a little more graphically than that. If he grew up in my neighborhood, somebody would have taken him apart very quickly. That's the truth. Why? Because he was a bully. As he judged, so he would be judged. Throw your weight around. There's always somebody out there who's a lot tougher than you are. Did I tell you this story about these two guys? They wanted to, I was trying to go out with this girl. I didn't know she was dating this other, whatever. Well, they came after me, okay? They came and visited me. So I told my friend Frank about it. What did Frank do? He paid him a visit in school. If you want to see how that looks, watch Godfather 2. The second version, when it flashes back to the old days when Robert De Niro plays the part of the Don. He walks along the street with him and says, gee, leave thy friend alone. And he said, well, if you don't, as you judge, so you will be judged. And you get the point. This guy's going to take me apart. See, that's how it works. It's not Christianity, it's common sense. As you judge, so shall you be judged. If you are kind and a friend, you will be treated kindly and as a friend. If you're a bully and you throw your weight around, I don't care how high your rank is, one day you'll be eating it. We used to say that in the monastery, one day you're no longer rector. You threw your weight around. Yeah. Mhm. Someday you're sitting in the refectory. You're not in charge. You're now sitting with the monks. There's a saying in the monastery, the monks will get you, which mean if you rough them up, they will eventually get you, which means eventually they'll have a vote on you, and they will remind you on no uncertain terms that you were a bully. See? There's a lot of truth in that. It's a gospel truth. Love one another as I have loved you. Don't throw your weight around.